If someone asks you, what do you do for a living? You'd say, you do this job, right? And they're going to come to the conclusions of what that means. But you should be a person who has so many different skills and abilities and viewpoints that outside of your job label, labeling you is very, very difficult. Hey guys, Hector Castillo, Poppy from girlschase.com. Today I want to teach you not to let people label you. I want you to become unlabelable. The reason why it's not good when people label you, especially with negative labels. Positive labels can be obviously helpful, and you do want some positive labels. But when negative labels happen, people are going to get in a habit of reacting to you based on that idea. We like to think that we have very dynamic views of people, and we always consider their feelings, and we usually think very simply outside of our very, very close friends. And even our close friends, we develop habits for the way that we treat them. And so when you are given a bad label and you didn't avoid it in the first place, or you don't deal with it once it crops up, people are going to get used to treating you in a certain way. And usually those ways are not going to be very conducive to what you want. They don't respect you in the ways that you want, and they don't treat you in the ways that you want. So I'm going to give you a strategy for how to avoid this. So firstly, you want to become a more dynamic person. Secondly, you need to learn how to market yourself. And third, you need to learn how to deal with it once people do give you a bad label. So first, once you become a dynamic person, meaning you have so many multiple personalities, you have so many facets of yourself, you have many different skills, if someone asks you, what do you do for a living? You'd say, you do this job, right? And they're going to come to the conclusions of what that means. But you should be a person who has so many different skills and abilities and viewpoints that outside of your job label, labeling you is very, very difficult. You want to become unlabelable. So if you develop a wide range personality that has different cliques, right? Let's just use cliques, right? You're not the nerd, you're not the jock, the meathead, the aristocrat, the artist, right? You have many different personalities within you. Yes, you're very good with girls, but you're not a fuckboy and you're not a player because you also have a romantic side to you. Well, you're not a romantic beta loser because you have that fuckboy, bad boy side to you. You're not just a nerd because even though you're smart and read a lot of books and play video games, you also go to the gym and work out, or you know how to fight. You aren't just a scientific thinker and philosophical thinker, you're also quite intuitive and you have an artistic side, right? So develop things that of course you want to be good at. You shouldn't do something simply for the sake of developing a personality. That's what psychopaths do. You want to develop things that you think are important to you, but you should also have a wide range of skills and abilities and viewpoints. And we all have interests that traverse many different fields of study and many different hobbies and passions. And so you need to come up with yourself who you want to become. For me, I have the nerdy side. I really love to play video games. It's been an obsession since I was little, but I also write, and I also have an artistic side. I also really value being good with girls, but I'm not just some fuckboy. I also have a very strong romantic side, and I really deeply care about women, which I've seen firsthand on this channel is something that a lot of people understood. I have a very, very, very deep spiritual, religious side to me. It's foundational to my life, my Buddhist beliefs. But at the same time, I'm very practical and I live in the real world and I don't allow myself to just live in my head. I work out a lot and I'm always striving to have a better body, and I have learned how to fight and how to defend myself. But I can also be very gentle, and I can be very soft, and I can be very, very caring. I can also be an asshole. Sometimes when I need to, and sometimes when I'm just in a bad mood. I can be very vicious and I can be very cold even. These personalities are things that sometimes I didn't show women properly. And so that leads us to our second point, because you can develop these personalities, but if you don't market yourself properly and present yourself properly, you're going to be misidentified. This is a failure on your part because you have to own responsibility to some extent for how people view you. However, I still hold people accountable. If someone were to misrepresent me and I were to see how they did it, okay, I understand how you might have come to that conclusion. However, there is still accountability on your end for not having the maturity and the empathy and the compassion and discipline to keep yourself from labeling someone so quickly. And so I will hold them accountable, but I will still understand that I should have marketed myself differently. And so when you are living in the world, at work, with your friends, with a girl on a date, with your girlfriend, talking to your parents, when you are interacting with people, you need to make sure that you aren't one-dimensional, because you aren't. But a lot of times, not only are people used to a way of treating you and thinking about you, a lot of times we ourselves are so ingrained in our habits of behaving in certain ways, especially around certain people. We have faces that we're so used to showing people that we kind of feel you just always revert to certain very deep set in habits when you're around certain people. And so we need to break the mold and not only be unlabelable, but express ourselves in an unlabelable way. And so that means being very careful with the words that you say. And this is very rich coming from me because, you know, I have a history of just saying something and I had a certain intention and a certain thought behind it, but I definitely should have been more careful with the way I expressed myself. However, that's how I learned the lesson. And so when you express yourself in a dynamic range and you properly adapt to the way you feel and the way you think, and you carefully are careful about the way that you express yourself, you're going to see that people are going to treat you in a dynamic way. What you put out is what you're going to get back. However, even if you do those things, there's going to be times when you just say something and, you know, you can't be super conscious of what you're saying all the time. You're going to make mistakes. You're not going to know how to properly express yourself to this person because they have a dynamic personality and they have beliefs and biases and prejudices. And so we're going to make mistakes and people are going to react to us and they are going to attempt to label us. Now, once people label you, you need to be very careful. Your good labels, you're funny, you're sexy, you're kind, you're strong, da-da-da. You want a dynamism to those as well. You don't want to just be, you're just nice, because then guess what? You're the nice guy. You want to have a dynamism to your nice labels, but you need to be very, very careful with the negative labels that people give you. Fuckboy, playboy, piece of shit, asshole, misogynist, sexist, boy. I got that a lot. People thought I was a boy because of the way I look and whatever. So I'm just very in touch with my inner kid and I have fucking fun. You are your religion. You're a Christian. You're a Muslim. You're a this. An asshole. A troll. These are negative labels that you really want to be careful to avoid. Now, the more important it is to you, even if they disagree with it, you should own it. I'm not saying that you shouldn't own what is true, but you need to be careful what they mean by that label. So you need to pay attention to how they're saying things and the attitudes with which they say them. But especially if they say something that doesn't really encompass who you are, you need to stand up for yourself and you need to tell them, no, that's not who I am. That may be true to some extent, but I don't think you properly understand. You need to express yourself like this. Now, some people who are malicious are going to come up with defenses to that. They're going to say, oh, you're being sensitive, or, oh, I just meant it like this. What you need to say is, I didn't take it that way. And so just like you are reacting to me, I'm reacting to you. And I want to tell you that I didn't appreciate that label. And I don't think that that word properly identifies who I am. And when you start standing up for yourself, you're going to see that people are going to respect you more because you're respectable. You stand up for yourself. And also, once you keep them from labeling you that way, they're going to have to reevaluate their representation of you, their interpretation of you. And that's going to lead them to have in their mind a more dynamic view of who you are. Now, with some people, it's going to be impossible to change their mind. And if that's the case and their view is so negative and they're so used, or because you've spent so much time with them, you have such a history with them, they're so used to treating you in a certain way, then it's time to cut them off and they are no longer conducive to who you are or who you want to become if you're trying to change who you are. Don't allow them to pin you down. Your identity is very hard to pin down, and you need to create an identity that is very hard to pin down, and you need to make sure that you are expressing yourself in a way that's hard to pin down. But if even then you encounter some trouble, you need to let people know that you don't want to be called that, you don't want to be thought of like that. And if they don't appreciate you standing up for yourself, then they're not good for you. They're toxic and they're malicious, and for you, they are evil. So keep them out of your life, or just put them in line and tell them they need to fucking fix their behavior. Okay. Do not become labelable. Be unlabelable. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, ring the bell, follow me on Instagram, and I'll see you very soon.